Behold my mystic opulence, Arjuna. See, with many arms and legs and faces in every direction across the universe. Arjuna would be just kind of, oh Krishna, oh divine one, please. I just want to see your two-armed form. Why do I exist? Or more profoundly, what would it feel like not to exist? And you can't answer those questions because you do exist.
Why you exist and what's the purpose of the life? Did you find the purpose of life now?
Being a conscious being within, which inhabits a body rather than a body owning a soul. It's the other way around. It's a soul inhabiting a body. Because you realise, these things don't make you happy. And I figured that out quite quickly. At that point, I was still wearing white yoga trousers and I wasn't quite ready for wearing a dhoti or even shaving my head. So I was in that transformation period.
Can you chant or share something from what you learned, apart from the Hare Krishna mantra, which we all know?
Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranataha Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Do you remember any lines from those characters that you played? Do you remember any lines that you can enact?
Ravana, you are no better than a dog that steals food from his master's plate. And then Ravana replies, who is the master? I still have Sita. Ram turns to Ram and says, you kidnapped my wife. Therefore, Ravana, as all sinful men are punished by Yamaraj, I, Lord Ramchandra, will also punish you. Please show your two-armed form. This form of yours terrifies my heart. I cannot relate to it. I prefer you as just a friend. Then he breaks out and he goes, no! I'm an eternal spirit soul. I'm ever existent. I'm primeval. I'm not this physical body.
Radha Mohan Das ji. Welcome back to Soul Sync again.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm still alive and kicking.
The last episode that we did on Vedic astronomy was great success. People have learned a lot and they appreciated the conversation that we had. But they also wanted to know your personal side and how you transformed yourself from, I won't say you tell, from what you were before onto now, Radha Mohan Das ji, and then the Krishna Consciousness. If you can take us through that, and then we'll get into your other hat about the theatre. So, yeah.
And also communications as well, which is one of the other things I do. Oh, I mean, my story isn't, I don't know, it's not particularly dramatic really, but in short, I was a theatre or a drama student, a performing arts student in Manchester, and I read the Bhagavad Gita there, translation and commentary by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada from ISKCON, of course, founder of ISKCON. I became convinced. I joined the temple there, moved to the Birmingham temple, travelled around India and Europe, and ended up here at Bhaktivedanta Manor. That's really my story. About 26 years ago, I got initiated by Bhakti Charu Swami. Therefore, my name from Richard, which is my birth name, of course, got changed to Radha Mohan Das. So that's my spiritual name. I'll still obviously use Richard as well when appropriate, but I've got two names, So that's it in a nutshell. I've always been interested in spiritual things, even as a child, before barely old enough to walk. I'd be thinking, have I lived before? And I have those vague memories of thinking in that way, thinking, why am I here? Or what was I doing before this? As a toddler. But I think when I was about 11 or 12, I started to ask these type of questions in a deeper way. Why do I exist? Or more profoundly, what would it feel like not to exist? And you can't answer those questions because you do exist. So, how can you imagine nothingness? You can't, because you are something. I think, therefore I am. So anyway, there was this journey. Of course, I was from a Christian-based tradition, being from England, and I went to a Church of England school, and so I was obviously more familiar with the Christian tradition. But I think I got into Buddhism and then through, I guess, aspects of Hinduism as well by my late teens. And like I said, when I read the Bhagavad Gita, for me, I thought, okay, this seems to reflect more than other things I'd read about me being a conscious entity, being different from the body, being a soul, being a conscious being within, which inhabits a body rather than a body owning a soul. It's the other way around. It's a soul inhabiting a body. So on this basis, I wanted to get more and more into this direction. And, I was already vegetarian, I think. Being a drama student in Manchester, that was the cool thing to do. Even then. Veganism, not so much in those days, but certainly vegetarianism was what a lot of...
So this must have been in late 90s or very early 2000s?
Well, I joined, I was at Manchester University from about 1991 to, no, 1990 to about 1993, that period. So I first came and joined the Hare Krishna temple when I was in 94, 93, that period, something like that.
It's quite long. It's close to 30 years now, 32 years to be
precise.
I've
been around quite a while, haven't I? Yeah, been around a while.
So what made you to transform from what you were doing? I know you had questions in life right from your toddling age, that why you exist and what's the purpose of the life, if I may say so, right? But did you find the purpose of life now, one? And the other thing is, what transformed you?
I think for me, I'll go the transformation. I mean, when people talk about transformation, obviously they talk about lifestyle changes. Or what did you have to give up to become a Hare Krishna devotee? Things like that. And I went as a youth, I guess, in terms of principles or lack of, as it were. I suppose I was probably like much anybody else in that sense. For example, I drank alcohol and so on and so forth. But I think perhaps quicker than most, in other words, by the time I was about 20, I would say, I was probably ready for another type of way of looking at the world. Because you realise, you see, these things don't make you happy. And I figured that out quite quickly. There were friends of mine, perhaps from school or college or university or whatever, that I noticed were not ready to give those things up. I think for me, I'd already given up alcohol and certainly given up meat by the age of about 20, and that was before I even read the Gita. So I was kind of
getting ready.
There was already a gradual process going on, and that process I think began years before, maybe from the ages of 15, but based on ethical principles, I think. What's right, what's wrong, what is love, what is hate, what is my destiny? A lot of people answer those questions, but maybe I was digging a bit deeper than most, perhaps. But for me, really, I felt that, I wasn't so much interested in a particular religion, because I thought, well, religion is a man-made thing, and that the true liberation can be found within or without kind of practical trappings around you that are made by institutions. But I think when I came, when I went to a few Buddhist temples, for example, and certainly ISKCON temples and etc., you begin to realize the value of association. You begin to realize when practicing a similar ethos, a similar lifestyle to others, you realize that we are social beings and that the world needs religious institutions.
Sure.
Because we need each other. And if you practice alone and you make up your own mantra, for example, that's what ultimately it means. It means you have to make up your own thing. It's a bit like what I was saying before in the previous interview about ascending process. You're trying to find the truth on your own rather than accept any type of authority, which is actually quite a common thing these days. But I think I clicked when I liked the temple in Manchester, and what to speak of Bhaktivedanta Manor, of course. Here, huge, much bigger temple, much more opportunities in terms of theatre, festivals, and so I just thought, I think I'll stick around for a while and see where it takes me.
So
while it's been about 35 years.
You got answers to both questions. One, your spiritual questions, and then your theatre, which we're going to get to in a minute.
Yes.
But before that, I want to ask you that how did the attire thing, the dress thing came about? Because it's not Western for sure, one, and two, it's not an easy thing to wrap up around you, right?
Yeah, I remember that I was, like I said before, I was doing performing arts and media studies at Manchester, and in a sense, ISKCON had become my religion, but in the sense that it became my Sunday program. In other words, you go to the temple on a Sunday, sometimes early in the morning, sometimes stay over the weekend, and participate in the program there. Kirtan, bhajan, pravachan, listen to class, chanting Hare Krishna. It was my religion, it was my faith by then, by about my second or third year of university. And what I mean by that it was my faith, but it wasn't absorbing it wasn't a 7-day, 24-hour thing. It was something you do on a Sunday, in the way that a lot of people are. And I think what happened was, it just grew upon me, more and more, to the point where I think I felt the need, however, I can't just live in a monastery, for example, and forget about my personal interests. Because, and not only that, but I read in the Gita, and the way that I was talking to other devotees as well, the narrative was always the same, which I appreciate about ISKCON, which is you can do what you like for Krishna. Just in the same way, Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, look, you're a warrior. It's not like you, it's not your duty, it's not your dharma as a warrior to go and retire to the forest and live with the hermits. That's their thing. But you're a prince, you're a warrior, you're powerful, you have a duty. And that's the higher principle. So similarly, in that way of thinking, I think helped me. I think, okay, with being into Krishna, even if I'm taking a monastic life, doesn't mean having to stop everything. It just means having to purify everything. And so I started staying weekends and even a few days at a time at the temple, because obviously students, they have terms and summer terms off and things like that. And so I was spending more time with the devotees. And Manchester Temple was a much smaller temple than the Manor. And one day they were having a visiting sannyasi, a holy person, those that wear the robes. And at that point I was still wearing white yoga trousers, and I wasn't quite ready for wearing a dhoti or even shaving my head. So I was in that transformation period. But someone convinced me, oh, there's a sannyasi coming, you have to wear a dhoti. And I went, oh, no. It's a big step. It's not like asking a Western lady to wear a sari. That's kind of fairly normal. In fact, they probably have no problem with it. But for asking a man to change out their trousers to a dhoti is quite challenging. But I did it because I was convinced through the association of other devotees. They said, look, there's a sannyasi all the way from Brazil or somewhere, and do it for us. So I did it for them. And I don't think for some reason I just enjoyed it, but it was difficult in the beginning because we would do Harinam, which is chanting and so forth in the streets of Manchester at the time. And I was starting to wear a dhoti, just fitted in. But then you have like peers from university who saw you.
And they know that it's fitted.
Yeah, and of course for them that is a bit odd. So of course you realise who your friends really are when those things happen. So you lose friends, of course, as you might expect.
So the one you're wearing right now, it's not fitted one, right? It's you know how to wear now.
Oh, I know how to put a dhoti on. I have done, but at the time, 30 odd years ago, I didn't.
You mentioned kirtanas and chanting. Can you chant or share something from what you learned, apart from the Hare Krishna mantra, which we all know? Apart from that, can you chant something else?
I know some mantras are different names of Krishna, which are very good. Krishnaya Vasudevaya. Hare Paramatmane Pranataha Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om, etc. So there are different mantras which I like. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and so on and so forth. So other mantras we chant.
How difficult was it to learn these mantras?
It's difficult for me. I'm not a Hindi speaker or Gujarati speaker or that speaker, this speaker, and Sanskrit, which what these words are very alien to the English tongue. Even the way you use your tongue, like for example, have you heard of the Rath Yatra festival, right? So of course, if you see how it's written on a piece of paper, it'll be it's a Rath Yatra festival. But they don't speak like that in India. They use their tongue a bit more, and so the point is that it's when you're dealing with language, pronunciation. It's not just knowing the translation or trying to understand the translation. It's the pronunciation, which is where I struggle. I do my best, but I think for me, it's not the memory of it. I'm okay with memorizing things, but pronunciation, I struggle with that today, to be honest.
But you did well with the mantra,
Yeah,
and I'm sure
it's all right.
I'm sure you're good. Let's get into your theater side of things. You said that you were in theater well before you sort of like got into the Krishna consciousness
yeah.
movement. But talk us through about the things that you do here now since you've joined the ISKCON, the theater, because I want to understand how the drama slash theater side of things is part of the Krishna consciousness movement, because by the name, it's a spiritual journey. It's about finding yourself, peace, etc. But where does this have the space?
I mean, the first thing to say, natak, whatever, which can mean drama.
Natak, you mean? Natak is drama.
So you caught me out there. The thing is that drama and dance, call it what you wish, is obviously very much part of Indian culture, history, and tradition. So that, and also that's no exception for ISKCON, where Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, he did encourage disciples to make dramas. I mean, he was sensitive about the subjects they would cover and the way they were done, make sure they were factual. But the idea on special days, festival days, that there's no harm. It's good to do dramas. Remember, we're talking about a culture which goes way before television and everything like that. And in all cultures around the world, I think dramas are healthy. I think they can, I suppose, as a form, probably in one sense, the only form of entertainment, dance and drama, going back, many years. And you find that in all cultures. So the point is that, and also there's an educational element, and also therapeutic as well. I've done a lot of drama over the years, and in different forms, inside and outside of the institution. And it can be therapeutic for not only the participant but also the audience as well.
So did you do any mythological characters of the Sanatana Dharma as part of your theatre?
In terms of the scriptures, or from the Leelas, the pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, over the years I've done all kinds of characters. I've done Ramayan. I've probably performed Ramayan about 500 times.
Ramayan?
I've played Ravana. As you get older, you get characters like Ravana to play, perhaps more. Then I was a bit younger, I was Ram. Before that, I think I was a guard or one of a supporting act, and I've even been Shrupanaka, Ravana's sister. So the point is that in her she has a beautiful form actually, but she also has those witch-like forms. So I've got to play the witch-like form. Being a man, obviously, didn't get the beautiful part. So the point is you do different characters. Even sometimes characters are quite different from yourself. So in Mahabharata or Mahabharata-related plays, I've done, for example, I played Krishna. I've played, what have I played? I've played Yudhishthira, Arjuna.
Can you remember any lines from those characters that you played till now? Let's pick first Rama. Do you remember any lines that you can enact?
Oh yeah, I mean, you've got to remember I've done this a lot.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, Sita. No, I can't remember. But how about something more dramatic?
Yeah.
Because I was going to say something romantic, but it's very difficult when I'm sitting in front.
Yeah.
How about Rama and Ravana are confronting each other on the battlefield?
Yeah.
Ravana, you are no better than a dog that steals food from his master's plate. And then Ravana replies, who is the master? I still have Sita. Ram turns to Ravana and says, you kidnap my wife. Therefore, Ravana, as all sinful men are punished by Yamaraj, I, Lord Ramchandra, will also punish you.
That's brilliant.
See? So we do these dramas in English language.
That's brilliant. Let's do Krishna's character, where he is naughty and jovial. Did you play that?
The character of Krishna, of course, Krishna has different ages. Yes. You get Krishna as a young boy, you get Krishna when he was in Dwarka, when he was an adult. So I've played the latter type, where Krishna is a fully grown man.
Oh, okay. So did you do any segment of Mahabharata where he's trying to preach and encourage Arjuna?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that.
I performed the Bhagavad Gita as well.
Let's do that. Do you remember anything from that?
Oh yes. I tell you what I do. I'm going for the most dramatic things because they're the ones which you remember the most.
Let's go.
But there are subtle parts as well. There's one point where it's actually the 11th chapter of the Gita, called the universal form, where Krishna reveals this cosmic form to Arjuna.
Brilliant.
Just to show he's not a normal human being by any stretch. And of course, Arjuna falls to his knees and says, "Oh, Krishna, what's this?" I kind of just say, Behold my mystic opulence, Arjuna. See, with many arms and legs and faces in every direction across the universe. You know, blah, 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 like this. I can't remember the details. I haven't performed for a while. And then, of course, you know, Arjuna would be just kind of, oh, Krishna, oh, divine one, please. I just want to see your two-armed form.
Brilliant.
Please show your two-armed form. This form of yours terrifies my heart. I cannot relate to it. I prefer you as just a friend. How could I even remember having just to kind of steal sweets from you, massage your feet, we go sporting together, talking together, and now you're revealing this form to me which I cannot fully comprehend, Lord. Have mercy on me.
It's brilliant.
And then Krishna, of course, will go, as you desire. I shall return to my two-armed form, Lord Arjuna. This is the form that you can love. This is me. This is my original form. Now go and fight. You know, this type of thing. So Leelas, not only Leelas we've done, stories of the Bhagavatam, of course, Mahabharata, Ramayana, but also we've done a lot of what we call contemporary drama, where we may be doing.
So let's hear that.
Well, for example, as a play we did, where it's about the journey of life. So it's taking an individual on a journey for different stages of his life, but he's ignorant, you see, and it's before he reads the Gita or before he has that transformation. So, he's kind of there and he's just thinking who he is, and he's standing in the middle of the stage and he's going, who am I? You know, he's got so many problems in his life. He's not satisfied. Who am I? Who am I? It's like this, and his voice comes out. It comes out of the blue. You know, a lot of it's pre-recorded. You are just a brick in human society, a fundamental building block of human society. You are all your body, whatever it is, some kind of voice representing Maya or the illusionary conception of the world. Then he breaks out and he goes, no! I'm an eternal spirit soul. I'm ever existent. I'm primeval. I'm not this physical body. I want to be free. You know, so these type of dramas can be very powerful. So they're preaching, they're sharing, they're entertaining, and they're powerful. And that's why I enjoy drama so much.
I was going to ask you something. When you do a theater, you get to the nuances of that character, whether it's a god or a human being you're playing, right? But that also teaches you and leaves an impression within you. So I'm talking to you as an artist, not as a devotee here. So as an artist, when you do this, does it leave that in you? You said you played Krishna, you played Rama, you played Surpanaka.
I think there's two things to answer that question, you see. On the one hand, if you're playing a divine character like Narad Muni, Brahma or Krishna, on the one level, the challenge, of course, is that they're so far above you. You know, they are pure devotees or God himself, and someone who you may not be able to instantly relate to in your everyday life. You can't compare your life to them. So there's an abstraction about it all. At the same time, if you're playing Narad Muni, you're playing someone who's calm demeanor, saintly, of course, renunciate. You know, we have this nice play called Narad Muni and the Cobbler, or Magrari, the hunter, and Narad Muni, where Narad Muni is consistently very much a sadhu. So the argument is, even though Narad Muni, for example, is so much superior, let's say, to myself, can I learn from that? Can I get a bit of Narad Muni in myself? And for performances, you have to do that in order to drift across the stage, you know, in that way. And maybe, just maybe, subliminally, there is some influence, you know, that you benefit from that. But I think that when you play characters like the one I said in the contemporary drama, who am I? Which perhaps have more in common with my own level, if you like, or my own journey, my own self, then in one sense, you feel like you can relate to it more. However, when you are dressed as a divine character, I'm sure there's some benefit there. And you have to be careful how you behave if you're dressed as Krishna or Lord Rama. Not the same pressures as if you're dressed as Ravana. But still, when you're dressed up with a crown and
do you dress up? That's the next
question.
Of course
we do. Yeah, so, we have crown, we have wigs, we have all kinds of costumes imported from India. Nice. Quite a lot, actually. Yeah, so it was about 15 years ago, we toured the Mahabharata, either at the temple, but also in some local theatres and council halls and things like that, where I got to play Bhishma Dev. So this big bushy white beard.
You have the
and long
personality,
hair.
the big.
Yeah, I was quite big enough to do that, and you have this wonderful whitish costume and this deep voice, which I thought was great. I really enjoyed that, actually. And you have to, when you're acting, you have to be able to have a little bit in common with the character to truly internalize.
Yeah.
Although, yes, it's true that you can have a very, let's say, sinful person, let's say, who, in the acting world, who can play, let's say, a saintly person. That happens in the outside world. In Krishna consciousness, in Vedic drama, I think that you should only be played really by devotees, even if it's an inferior devotee like myself. You have to be a practitioner, at least, in order to perform these leelas.
Why?
Ideally, because first of all, I'll give you an example. I'm not going to go into details or criticize anybody or any other drama group, but I have to say I've seen Ramayana performed by professional actors. Later on, you walk through the foyer, or you walk past the green room or whatever, and you look in, you can see the actor who's playing Rama is having a beer or something like that. And there's a problem with that in our view. There's something to do with the subtle potency of the characters, especially if someone's playing Sita, for example. There's a certain purity on and off the stage, really, which I think Sita should be, because drama, or anything really, but in this context, drama, it's part of a lifestyle and a context which is not just on the stage, but is part of your being, and therefore, for us, and that's how it was in ancient India. So they would perform. Often the dramas, where it was a form of Kathakali or whatever it was, or Bharatanatyam, these type of things. But dramas themselves, or puppets, these things, I think that when they're performed by devotees, there's a lot more potency there. And what happens when they're performed by non-devotees, the intentions are good. Not saying the intentions are wrong. There may be very good script and they may have understood the essence of it. But what usually happens is that something will come into the drama where either it's off the stage, like I mentioned, or there's some conclusion there which you think that's not right. Oh, Sita wouldn't dress like that. She wouldn't expose herself so much in front of Lakshman, in terms of the way she's dressed, whatever it may be. Oh, you know what I mean by that? That there's a cultural dimension there which has to be consistent when you're performing Ramayana. You imagine, it would be great, wouldn't it, for Hollywood, for example, to do Mahabharata or Ramayana. But the problem is the fear, and they have the special effects, they have the money, they have the talent, but there's that fear that they'll just get it wrong. They'll turn a character like Sita into somebody who is, not Sita, if you know what I mean, not as chaste or something like that. So I think it's really important to practice what you preach on the stage as well.
So on the theatre side, what are your aspirations? I think you've done your experience. How the Bhaktivedanta temple taking forward that through you? Are you spreading this knowledge in the children, on the next generation?
You've hit the nail on the head. I'm 56 this year, so I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And I've been doing dramas since I was a spring chicken. Well, it feels like that. Maybe I was part of kind of drama school when I was about 14 in Worcester. So I've been doing this for a while. But there comes to a point, call it midlife crisis, call it whatever you want, call it reality, call it duty. But there is that sense that we really have to kind of get the younger generation involved. That I've done my bit. I can't continue. Well, I can play certain parts like Ravana, as I mentioned, but I can't play younger characters anymore when you're surrounded by people that are younger than you. You're going to play the older character, aren't you? You're more likely to play Dasrat than Ram if you're in your 50s. But the point, I think, is that yes, I feel the Bhaktivedanta Players drama group has been kind of the most well-known or the most consistent drama group for the past 50 odd years, or whatever it's been, 40 years of the Bhaktivedanta Manor's history. And we have to think about, we have the junior Bhaktivedanta Players, as we call them, but the age gap between us and them is more than a generation. We're talking about 15, 14-year-olds. With us, we're all practically signing our pensions. Might as well get a bus pass or whatever. But we have they are the future.
Yeah.
Children are.
And you have the institute here that you train.
Yeah, children are. Was it 20% of the population or something like that?
Course, yeah.
But 100% of the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not going to be around.
Absolutely. So you run classes here, the theatre classes, or
they're not formal classes we do, but what we do is we do dramas where most of the actors.
So that's the presentation,
children.
right? So the drama is the presentation, and you prepare for that presentation.
Yes.
But you don't run any the professional sort of classes.
Yeah, I understand. You mean like drama workshops?
Yeah,
workshops. If anything, I'd like to say that what tends to happen here, we have so many festivals here.
Mm-hmm. There's something always.
There's always a reason. It's always done. I suppose what you call it fighting. What you call it fighting fire, as it were.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to do a drama next week, or we're going to do a skit to entertain someone. Okay. So it's all based on performing. But to be fair, I think when the objective is a performance, it can actually discipline the atmosphere where, look, you're going to be 100 people are going to be looking at you next week.
You have to be perfect.
Whereas I went to a lot of drama classes at school where it was just basically, we were just messing around. It's just an excuse just to kind of get out of maths lessons or something like that. So I think that, so when there's an objective, well, this is for performance. But I would like to see with the children more focused direction.
Sure.
Because you get a kid, put a costume on a kid, and you get him on the stage. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be any good, right? Yeah. Well, it's the same for adults, of course.
Absolutely.
But I do think that yes, more detailed direction would be. And there's someone who's a friend of mine, who's the actual director of the Bhaktivedanta Players, and he's more involved with the junior ones than I am, because I'm also busy with other things. I'm the communications secretary of Bhaktivedanta Manor as well, which is a lot of administration or websites or article writing or interfaith work, or responsible for the outward face and reputation sometimes of the manor, neighbours, council, even Westminster sometimes, different external organisations. So I think I've got enough on my plate, frankly.
Great. Thank you so much, Radha Mohan ji. It was a pleasure to get the insights on your personal life, and it was absolutely a pleasure to get to know your theatre side of things. You're an amazing artist, I must tell you.
Well,
when I put you on spot, you were instantaneously.
You saw it. You saw the thespian out,
absolutely,
didn't you? It was very different from the other one about science, which was like, how deep is this guy going to dig? Instead, it was how much will this guy overact?
No, you certainly wear multiple hats, and you're doing great in each hat that you wear. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.